There's nothing keeping this roof from blowing on. We're taking over the town. Hit the switch and shut it down. Like Indian, we're electric, never stop. We're coming ready or not. We're coming ready or not. We're giving all that we got. We're giving all that we got. We're coming ready or not. We're throwing gas on the fire. The stratosphere getting high. We're trouble when we get crazy. We get wild. Got dynamite in our blood. Get ready and buckle up. When we go big, we blow up in ferocious style. We're coming ready or not. We're coming ready or not. We're giving all that we got. We're giving all that we got. We'll never throw in that white towel. You're never knocking us out. We're coming ready or not. 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 Oh, pain on our face. Oh, drums of thunder that keeps our pace. And make no mistake, we're coming for you. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. We're coming ready or not. We're coming ready or not. We're giving all that we got. We're giving all that we got. All that we got, yeah. We'll never throw in that white towel. You're never knocking us out. We'll never know. We're coming ready or not. We're coming ready or not. We're coming ready or not.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Our family started RVing a few years ago, and when I think about all those campfires and fishing trips and sporting events, these are memories that are going to last a lifetime. I want to help others do the same thing. Hi, I'm Kevin Smith, General Manager at the all-new Click It RV in Milton Freewater. People in this community are very familiar with this location and the great service they've always received. So the biggest question we get is, where is Keith? The great news is, Keith is still here.
I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of things come and go. Through all the changes that we have seen, one thing that has not changed for us is the quality of our service.
Buying an RV is a big purchase, but it should be a fun and happy experience. So whether it be in sales or service or parts, our mission is simple: be the best. From our team here at Click It RV in Milton Freewater, we invite you to come down and experience the difference.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another round of Road to Pro Split 2. I'm Terry Radford. That's Jason Rockefeller. And then the driver of the number 54 JGR Toyota Camry, Daniel Falcon, came in on the end. And Jason, I'll start with you. 2 weeks since we've done this, and well, it's time to go Darlington racing.
Yeah, man, it's time to go Darlington racing. This is always a very fun track. Of course, yep, you had to do that. How did I know you were going to do something like that tonight? But anyways, Darlington, man, I got to call a couple races here yet. I hope you choke on that Coke. Anyways, so yesterday I called a couple races here at Darlington. This track, I tell you what, and Dan here in a second can tell you just how abrasive, how hard this surface is to drive. I myself love driving here on iRacing, but I am abysmal here for some reason. But I have my good moments here and there. But these guys are going to be having a lot of trouble here tonight at the virtual Darlington Raceway. Tire wear is probably going to be the biggest key for tire wear keys all season long for round 1 and into round 2. So this is going to be shaping up to be a very good race, 120 laps. A lot of guys looking to get it done here tonight.
Well, and Dan, you were talking about it in the pre-race with us. You said that you were looking forward to the Throwback Coke race May 16th on eNASCAR.live. What do you like about Darlington that's just so great?
Pretty much all it is I just love the challenge of it. Like, we know it's one of the most odd-shaped racetracks that we go to, and just the challenge of it, of how close you got to get to the wall to be able to make speed around the place, trying to take care of your tires, and trying to get around traffic, because it's one of the most narrow groove racing surfaces that we race on throughout the entire year. And especially when you got these guys down here that are some of the best trying to make it up to up through the eNASCAR ladder, try and make that top 70. Like I said, it's the penultimate race of round 1. So this is a pivotal race for a lot of these guys. So, Terry, I think we're in for a lot of action tonight. I'm ready to look forward to it.
Normally when people say a lot of action, we mean a lot of cautions. I hope over-under, Jason Rockefeller, what the caution count looks like here. PRL on RaceSpot went caution-free yesterday in the Xfinity Series. Best of the best here on Road to Pro and Split 1 and 2. Over-under 5 caution-wise tonight.
Under. Definitely under. I mean, when you look at Dover from a few weeks ago, Dover had its moments, but then it got drug out into a long-run type race. And that's usually how these eNASCAR races go, whether you're racing the Pro Series, whether you're racing the Road to Pro Series, whether you're racing the Coke Series. There's some tracks where typically you just don't see a lot of cautions at venues where usually you would think to yourself, I might see a lot of cautions here tonight, but tire wear is going to be super crucial here tonight with the abrasive surface, all these different setups, the way that how awkwardly shaped this track is, and the way it drives. I mean, this is a beast, and you have to tame the lady in black, and this is the track that's known as Too Tough to Tame. I want to say I say 2 cautions. 2 cautions is what I say tonight. That's what I think we're going to get.
Dan?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a wild card, honestly. It could go either way, because a lot of these people that might have issues in points are going to try to be aggressive, and a lot of people that may already be locked in on the next round, or they feel safe but are not entirely safe, fully locked in. They may try to be nice and smooth, try to take it easy, try not to get any damage on their truck, try to avoid a Darlington stripe for that matter as well. So I think, like I said, it could go either way, but I definitely know we're going to see a lot of action. And we're going to see who really can tame the lady in black tonight.
Well, I had plenty of Darlington stripes last night in the PRL in my Miracle Flow Whatapack number 3 Jeff Gordon throwback Chevrolet. We'll see if any of these drivers are better than I am. I'm a little bit better on the microphone than I am behind the steering wheel, but who am I? Just there. Practice session is underway. The official lobby is set up for Split 2. We got our normal people that's in this split. Kyle Peddle, Kwame Scott, James Wenzel, Dallas Patska. Those drivers in here. We got Matthew Morton. Thomas Lowistick is going to be in here as well. We're going to get ready to step aside here. We'll be right back with on-track action. Well, I thought we were stepping aside to a break.
Yeah, I thought we were going to commercial.
But you see, this is the magic of live LSR and FTN TV, as you just really never know what we're going to see. We're taking a look right here. That is the 50. Well, Kyle Peddle, he decided to come out. Here we go. He'll come out. Warms his tires up. Kyle Peddle come on the racetrack. He'll be one of our first drivers to try to set a time here. Yeah, we'll go up on board with Matthew Morton as he's going to come around here to take his first lap. And Dan, you were talking about this track being abrasive. Race trim obviously is different than qualifying. How hard do you push this truck right here to the very edge, or do you kind of just taper it off in the first or second lap?
Obviously you got to go wide open, try to get the best spot you can. But I don't know what's really going to be the best. I feel like you're going to want to do one and done. You got 2 laps, so if you mess up your first lap, then you're able to go back, reset, try to go for another lap. But just do what you can, try to get all you can out here. Try to get, especially through 1 and 2, you want to carry as much speed as you can, get right up next to that wall, bring it back down and exit. That's the best line through 1 and 2. And then 3 and 4, you go either way. Oh, and speaking of Matthew Morton, he wasn't happy with his lap. He's going to reset and try to go for another one. But through turns 3 and 4, you can go either way. You can maybe run the bottom, because lately, over the last few years, the bottom lane at Darlington has become really good, especially for tires, like in race trim. But is it good for qualifying trim? Well, that's something we're going to have to wait and see, as Nate Stewart is going out here on the track. And something about Nate Stewart, I've actually talked with him over the last few weeks or so, and he's definitely needing for a good result tonight, because he is I think it's like 61st in points coming into tonight. So he's had several bad weeks. He cannot afford another bad one if he's going to stay in that top 70. As we see Mitchell out here setting a lap. He's running that middle line right there as he's coming to the start-finish line to complete his lap. See where that puts him on the board. And waiting for time and scoring. All right, it won't show me for whatever reason, but yeah, definitely a lot of interesting lines we're seeing. Yeah, he was definitely close. I wonder if he might have gotten a 0x, because it didn't say a current position on him, or unless our time and scoring ain't working correctly. But yeah, you see a lot more guys. Look at him, right up next to that wall, carrying all speed he can get. Ooh, mega loose off turn 2, keeps it straight down the back straightaway, and we'll see what he does here into turns 3 and 4. Gonna enter on the bottom lane. Is he gonna let it maybe swing? Nope, he's gonna keep it right on that very bottom lane. Shortest way around as he's coming to the start-finish line. We'll see what he runs for lap time here, Terry.
He crosses the line, 28.9. It'll put Daniel Nanny P4. Christopher Hill with a 28.83 goes to P number 1 as we take a look at Mr. Vrabel and the McConey setup shop 29 Chevy, where that puts him. Kwame Scott jumped up to second. That's a 29-0. That's currently 14th on the board as Nate Stewart jumps up to 5th with a 28.92. He's about a 10th off what we see the pole time being. 28.9 right there will slide Daniel Smallwood, P5, here this afternoon. There's a lot of drivers so far here that's flirting with that, that's under the 28. We have the top 10 currently. Octavio Rondoletto is the first driver, Jason, that's a 29 flat. Everybody else has really been able to pick up speed.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody right now is kind of all in those, 9/10 brackets right in the 28 second. And Kyle Peddle with a heater lap, 28.81. The number 1 of Kyle Peddle goes all the way up to the top of the leaderboards, which I'm not that surprised. Kyle Peddle finished second just a couple of weeks ago here in Split 2. And there's a guy you're going to have to look out for tonight. That's Anthony Burrows. So fast here in Road to Pro in the round 1 set. For the schedule. Currently, though, sits 12th up on the board. But everybody right now, though, Terry, it is very hard to crack that 8 bracket. And I wonder if we're going to see anybody here crack into the 7s. We only have a few drops left to go. And obviously, Kyle Peddle, 28.81. Chris Hill, 28.83. Crowder, 8.6. It's very hard to crack below the 9/10 of a second bracket here when it comes to qualifying. But everybody right now, though, obviously, different setups, different handling trucks. Some guys are set up for long runs. Some guys are set up for speed. It's all going to be playing into the factor with tire wear here tonight, and also, obviously, the setups with how they want to drive, whether it be loose, tight, or long run or short run.
It's going to be interesting to see where track position plays dividends here. Is it going to be a driver from the middle of the pack that comes to win this race? Or is the driver who starts P1 here this afternoon, can he go wire to wire as Kyle Peddle takes pole position here at Darlington with Christopher Hill to the outside? Row number 2 is going to be made up of Jackson Crowder and Dallas Patska. Row 3 is where you're going to find Will Cooley and Kwame Scott. Row number 4, Eddie Kerner and Ben Baffert. And rounding out the top 10 here this afternoon, Triton Lapashev. I'm going to butcher the mess out of that, but we'll just call him Triton. And I got Daniel Smallwood, Jason, rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, top 20, it's going to be Nate Stewart there in the number 12 and Seth Reeder there in the number 30 machine. Row 7, Anthony Burrows, who's been so fast recently, and also Connor Euroshak of the 16. Row number 8, Daniel Nanny and Justin Lowry in the 25 machine. In row 9, James Wenzel in the 13 and Philip Groner in the 24. And rounding out the top 20, Octavio Rondoletto and Kevin Champagne in the number 7, Dan.
Move on to row 11, we got Raul Alves and Joseph. Here back here in row 12, we got Matthew Morton and Robbie Vrabel Jr. Here in row 13, we got Thomas Lewandowski and Jordan Kuntz. Row 14, Jake Sylvia and Peter J. Zeller. Or Peter J. Zeller. Sorry if I messed that up. Matthew Zwack and River Hayes starting here in row 15 and round out the top 30. And to round out our final few drivers, Justin Patello, Mitchell Hunt, and our last driver on the grid, Santiago Terres. He's starting dead last, shotgun, P33. He's got a long road ahead of him and only 120 laps to do it.
I like how you get the easy. Get Joseph. Like, you get the names that I wish was scrolling across mine, because I'm not the brightest bulb in the box across the sport. But, Dan, I'll come to you with this question. Track position has always played dividend here at Darlington. Give me one X factor that tells me that somebody outside this top 10 can win.
Pretty much maybe going off strategy, or unless you just got that good of a long run truck, like you maybe try to save your tires, save them hopefully for a long run, maybe everyone else burns their stuff off, and then maybe just go off strategy, maybe get some lucky cautions too, because we've seen, like, even a few weeks ago at Texas, people trying to run long, get a caution, they did. Sometimes it worked, some it worked out for, some others it didn't. So it's pretty much you're going to do something out of the ordinary that you probably would not do if you're compared to up front, or if you're back down there in like 15th or something. So and there's very little, like I said, very little racing room here, about 1.5 to 2 lane grooves here. A lot of traffic, dirty air is going to be terrible. But anyway, a lot of factors going into tonight, and we are going green.
Yeah, pace car is going to pull down to the pit road. And it'll be Kyle Peddle right here. That takes an early jump. Doesn't even wait to get to the restart zone.
Wow.
Doesn't have to in these official races. He is gone. Checked up the outside lane, something fierce. And now you see it here. There's the 11 machine on the outside. There's Eddie Kerner. He's pulling up. And wow, Christopher Hill didn't know what to do there chasing Rockefeller, because, well, that was an untimely start from the race leader.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You talked about these official sessions, and I'm sure Dan knows it better than anybody. I mean, you do not have to restart in the restart zone necessarily. Sometimes you could restart right after that pace car dives and hits the commitment line, and then you can go. And Kyle Peddle just took off like a NASA spaceship practically right there. Beat everybody in the restart zone, held up the 11 up on the outside as we ride on board with Christopher Hill, the number 31 machine. But even regardless of how chaotic that start was right here, everybody singles files out here as they work their way on to lap 3.
Yeah, definitely. If you like the start that Kyle Peddle got right there, if you were to do that in the Coke Series, that's an easy black flag, because all of our starts are right on the green flag. And I'm pretty sure, like, we actually have restart zones in the Coke Series too. So something like that may not be allowed if you get to reach to the top level, like Kyle Peddle is familiar with the top level of eNASCAR. But right now, as I'm seeing, single file across the field. We got a little side-by-side battle up here for, looks like, P number 3 between Eddie Kerner and Christopher Hill. But overall, right now, everyone single file, right around the bottom, trying to preserve their tires and maybe see if this thing goes green.
Well, Dan, let me ask you this. Because obviously we've seen across the time of Road to Pro that drivers can protest something that they didn't like in one of these races. Is that a protestable offense in your book?
Nah, not at all. With the Road to Pro Series, restart boxes aren't on, the start zone aren't on, so, and like this is like what we were doing even like a year ago before restart zones were even implemented. People can go whenever they want. It says once the pace car pulls off from the time the green flag drops, you can go wherever you want. It says it in the sporting code, so right there, he's clean.
Perfect. So there's Triton right here sitting P6, one spot outside the top 5. That last position in the top 5 is held by Christopher Hill, who started outside front row, Jason. And we talked about track position being a big factor across this board. Slipping back from outside front row to inside now row 3. Well, he's got a little bit of work to do to get around these drivers, and right now it doesn't look like he necessarily has the pace to get around them.
Well, also, too, Terry, mind the fact, too, we're only coming up to lap 7 this time by, and tire wear is going to start to play a factor here once they reach about over lap 10. Talked about during the pre-race how much tire wear was going to be an issue here tonight. Now, compared to most tracks, tire wear usually settles in around over lap 15, lap 20 here at Darlington. Every lap matters on these Goodyear Eagle force set here. You know, when you come to Darlington, you're just going to eat up these tires. Larry Mack always talks about racetracks like this as being a cheese grater to these Goodyear Eagle tires here, and that's exactly how these guys are going to have to race tonight. They're going to be driving like they're on ice skates practically from inside their virtual cockpit. You're seeing right here Kwame Scott, who was pretty solid in qualifying and practice, and he's just kind of just drifted back just a little bit right now. Kwame currently sits 13th, so he actually has lost a ton of ground from where he started, -7, currently sitting in the 13th position right now. So a lot of guys are starting to make their way up through this field, but a lot of guys also, Dan, they're starting to lose a lot of track position early on.
Yeah, for sure. Kwame Scott, great qualifying, is falling back. But look at Anthony Burroughs. He's moving up in that beautiful FTN truck. This is my first time seeing this truck. That's a nice, mighty fine machine he's got right there. Didn't have the greatest qualifying, but he's already cracked into the top 10, saying this is his favorite racetrack. Hopefully he can get out a good result, maybe pull out another win.
Well, I hear if you scan the QR code on the hood, it takes you directly to the FTN broadcast here for the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty awesome. You got the FTN logos. You can scan the QR code. Super awesome thing here. But yeah, we do welcome our FTN crowd. We welcome our LSRTV crowd. Good combination. Broadcast networks working together. The same thing with Makoni Entertainment working with FTF over there for Split 1. A great multicast, which is why we lost our Daniel Falkingham 2 weeks ago at Dover. It's good to have him back here on the broadcast. But look at this awesome shot that we have here, the little drone shot. We have the overall cam that we had going on here. I'll be at Darlington on Sunday, so I'm very excited to watch my second race here. I went with Denny Hamlin 2 years ago, which was not my favorite pick, but he gets it done. But Anthony Burroughs moving through this field, not necessarily burning his tires up. He's been very consistent in the 29 ballpark. He's only 0.3 off of what his fastest lap is. So tire fall off so far in the first 12 laps really hasn't come to play. When do we see this, Dan? Do we see the tire fall-offs maybe like 20 to 30? And how drastic do you see that drop going?
Yeah, I was going to say right now, I think the tires right now, they're going to continue to fall off probably from this point on to maybe 30, 40, probably around halfway. And that's what we got to think about, strategy. I love talking about strategy. I do this all the time whenever I'm with you guys. It's going to be interesting because tonight's race is 120 laps, so you may think you could probably split it right down the middle at 60 laps. But some people, like some of the guys that I've been talking to, they say it might be tight on fuel to make it halfway, and plus, I think it might not be good for tire to try to stretch it out 60 laps. So some people, could they try the one stop, or could we see something that we haven't really seen all season? Could we see a two-stop strategy? People pitting it, say maybe, try to do math in my head here, maybe pit like lap 40, then 80 to split it into thirds, or split it in half. The strategy window is wide open tonight here in the Lady in Black.
Well, Jason, I'll bring you in. You're going to college. You're a little bit smarter than I am when it comes to the math side of things. What would you do here? Would you split this into thirds like Dan talked about, or would you go to the halfway portion of it? What would be your strategic idea to maybe come out here and win this race?
Oh, see, now that's the thing. Now, I am no math whiz myself. I am not the biggest math guy, so don't ever sit me up on top of one of these virtual pit boxes here at Darlington. I've had to be the crew chief for Kenny Brady here and there back in the day for Road to Pro, and it was not fun because I did not know what I was doing. He practically did all the work. But I mean, to point out what Dan said, I mean, to split it up into somewhat, in a sense, thirds, pitting at lap 40 and then lap 80 and then running out the rest of the way, that's a very smart idea. I kind of agree with that, but also think to yourself too, maybe, just maybe, try to stretch it to lap 50, then you can have the 10-lap fresher tires than if people who were to pit lap 40, and then you can pit maybe at lap 100 or maybe a little bit earlier. I'm not really too sure. You know, obviously, this is not my forte. I just call these races here. I'm not a driver. I'm not good with strategy and whatnot. I just call it as I see it. But really, I think Dan really did hit the nail on the head perfectly. I really do think that pitting at lap 40 and lap 80 is probably the best strategy if you really don't want to stretch it to lap 60, because that is a long time. And Dan talked about these guys maybe not making it on fuel like he talked to some of these drivers, but also the fact too is that tires, there is no way at all that these Goodyear Eagles are going to make it all the way to lap 60 and then somehow, some way be able to withstand all the abrasive surface that Darlington Raceway provides and then pit and then somehow run another 60 laps practically. I just don't see that happening. So I think the right call, 40, 80, finish it off to 120.
You see a side-by-side battle that shaped up for just a second with Octavio Rondeletto right there in the 17th position. He just got around Justin Lowry. Puts him -2 in the 25 machine. But I'll open Pandora's box for a second because you talked about maybe stretching it 10 laps past if drivers come lap 40, go to lap 50. So Dan, you're gaining your fall off potentially to then might be over to 2.5 seconds. Do you take that risk of losing 2.5 seconds of what you gained and potentially losing 2 laps to try to change that strategy? Or you just pray that if you're one of the drivers outside the top 15, you try to stretch it and pray for that caution?
Yeah, like this is where it gets interesting, because that might be the reasonable strategy to do, trying to play it safe, because you know, pretty short sit on tires compared to do like 40 laps compared to do 60 laps. But you do have the risk of going all those laps down. Now, is it worth it to maybe stretch it out and maybe catch a caution? Or do you think you might, the one stop could be faster? That is something we're waiting to see if this thing goes green. Because the tire fall off, there is going to be a point where the tires are going to even out. But that being said, with you not being on fresh tires, you're losing, like, say, maybe 20 laps worth of fresh tires. You're just losing so much time. And you're trying to make that back. With these guys that are doing 2 stops compared to the 1 stop, they're just going to be so much faster overall in the race. But, like I said, if that cost comes out, and a lot of these guys try to do a certain strategy and they get faltered for it, well, then that's racing. That's just part of racing sometimes.
I love it. Part of racing. I mean, you see racing back here in the back half of the field. You see Raul Alves. He's sideways in the 25th position, trying to get the 24th position from Jake Sylvia. Right behind him, you're going to have Matthew Swack and River Hayes, who are fighting it out. They're trying to go for that 26th, 27th position, trying to swap around just a little bit. Some big movers so far in this race. You currently have Daniel Nanny. 6 positions to the 9th place spot. A lot of the top 5, well, basically all the top 5, only changed on the initial start of this race, where we saw the leader, Kyle Peddle, take a massive jump.
In the wall.
He's up 7/10 of a second. Oh, in the wall goes Sylvia. Nick, can they save it? They all do. So no issues here as Sylvia smacks the wall. He's going to go right in front at the moment of River Hayes, and he's at the wall again. Hayes is going to get underneath him. So far, he's the first driver we've seen on camera to get the Darlington stripe, Jason.
Yeah, and that's the thing here when it comes to Darlington. Oh my goodness, he just slotted right in between right there that was River Hayes and Robbie Vrabel Jr. there in that 5 machine, showing up as the 29 on our leaderboard. But man, it is so tough to pass here. You have to basically dive it down into the corner if you want any chance of trying to basically pass somebody. And then it just gets so tight in the corner as you see the 78 nearly loses it right there. Jake Sylvia almost lost it off turn number 2. He had a great save there. Had another truck right on his back bumper. That was Robbie Vrabel Jr. He saved it. But man, Terry, it is so tough to pass here. You're going to see guys really struggling to really pass one another. There's not that much give and take here in the Road to Pro series here, especially with only 2 races remaining in round 1 before we take the top 70 and move on to round 2 before we'll take that top 20 and then so forth. But I mean, you got to really be careful. Make sure that you're learning how to give and take, but you don't want to give too much, but you also don't want to take too much, because that's when the accidents start happening.
Well, and for the people who are watching on both FTN and LSRTV, we are showing the lower third at the bottom with the driver's name and the iRacing number that they give them in the session. It's based off of iRating. So their painted numbers on the car are not what their sim number should be. So we're showing you a different number of what you're looking at when we show the truck. So this is Christopher Hill. He is the 31st driver in this field based off of iRating. But his normal paint scheme is number 11. All of their sponsors and everything that they have to put these sessions on for these drivers to come out here and race and get on the road for $300,000. This is step number 1. Get through the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series to get your way to round 2 here, which is the round 2 of this, where we take the top 70, and then we're going to flip it. After that one, we're going to take the top 20, and then we'll take the bottom 20 for Coke. We'll put them in contender. Top 20 in that goes to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. So far, the drivers who've been up front all season long, pretty much in this is to go, Daniel. They're the cream up here as well. You see Ben Baffert back here in the 8th place position. It's the same story, just a different track.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, after we got through our first 3 races, which were Daytona, Vegas, Atlanta, which all pretty much race like a super speedway, we were really going to see who is going to be the main contenders week in and week out. But it's going to be real interesting to see who, like, even second split, third split, fourth split, what it may be, who gets into that top 70 points when after Charlotte in 2 weeks' time. We're going to get to put them all together, and they're all going to be racing everyone from top split all the way down through several different splits, and we're going to really see all the racing action kick into high gear to see like who can run the best out of everyone, like everyone together. So I'm definitely looking forward to that round 2. I'm glad to be able to be a spectator this year.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you as a spectator. No better person to have on the broadcast for Split 2 down here as somebody who actually competed in this series last season to give that high up perspective. You see the battle going on right here for the 7th place position. That is between Ben Badford and Trayton Lapovich. They're back here fighting for this as Badford moves up to 7th. But the funny part about this is you said it, you hit the nail right on the head. We knew coming out of the super speedway weeks, once we started to get to the, it takes the skill, it takes the setup, and it takes the tire saving. It takes all of that together to make your run in Road to Pro successful. But after 2 weeks, so in 2 weeks when we get to Charlotte, we're going to stay on the bit because we're going to update point. We're going to tell you who the top 70 is. We'll tell you, hey, this person barely missed it by, points, and they could have had a bad week. This isn't, they just run out here and complete all the laps and they get it. You got to have good finishes in all the splits. We'll see who from split 4 got in, who from split 3, 2, and 1. Somebody from split 7 could have started split 7 week 1, could have made their way up to split 4 or split 3, Jason, before it was all said and done, and could have earned a lot of points to get themselves in the top 70. But you see this battle going on back here. Every spot counts, Jason, to get you into the top 70.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've been stressing that very, very heavily here, Terry, these last few weeks. And with only this race and then obviously Charlotte coming up in just a couple weeks for Memorial Day weekend, I mean, it's go time, baby. There are guys who are already locked in on points for the top 70, but then there are guys who are just around that top 70 and below it. They are hungry, man. Like, for example, I'm not too sure, obviously, where River Hayes is in the points, but he might be a guy who's struggling right now. And you see him right there, loose off turn number 4. He's got to get every position he can because every position is just more and more points added on to continue your march towards that $100,000, which is awarded in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And he's really loose off turn number 2. And I tell you what, you don't want to give up a lot of points here tonight by losing it off one of these corners because tires are really starting to settle in. We've already lost almost 2 seconds worth of fall off here in these first 35 laps. So these tires are screaming right now.
Yeah, tires are definitely yelling all the way around these trucks. The Goodyear Eagles are they're not too happy. I mean, I wasn't too happy with myself last night either. As Kwame Scott falling back quite a bit here. He's minus 6 spots from where he started P6 down to 12, kind of settling in. Pace-wise, he's a little bit off. He's right speed where he should be as he's getting a challenge right behind him. That's from Seth Ryder in that number, would be the number 30. Would be the 89 on your screen. But, man, we've just been single file, and the only time we're seeing a pass is when the person in front of him makes a mistake.
Yeah, that just seems the way it is right now because everyone's trying to manage their stuff. They're trying to avoid contact because in these Craftsman trucks here, we got a tight battle for position, and this is a scary part of the racetrack where you don't really want to be side by side. Your turns 1 and 2, that's Anthony Burrows. Oh, close call off of turn number 2. Can't tell if he got on the wall right there. But definitely close call between the 62 and the 89. Oh, he's all over his bumper. Oh, I hate we had to cut away to that. I know we're about to see some action right there. Oh, we got Daniel Smallwood up here for some position. We're starting to get a little bit of action all over the racetrack right now. But as I was saying, like in these particular trucks, if you get in the wall and if you get any sort of damage, it's really hard to overcome it. It's because like you get any sort of damage that you see on Anthony Burrow's truck. He's got a little bit of left rear damage. Any bit of damage you get on your truck, it essentially kills you. It kind of kills all your speed. So it's definitely being very treacherous. People being very careful trying to get near that wall. As we see Nate Stewart going on by, we're seeing several others like James Wetzel and others are here. Contact! Burrows, he saves it down the front straightaway. And Burrows, I don't know what's happened to him in the last few laps, but he's gone from like 11th to 12th place, and he's about to almost fall outside the top 20 here.
Well, he just ran a 32.4. Not necessarily the lap times he wants to put down. Contact included, caught the wall. He's getting past pretty quick. Octavio Rondoletto's going around him. Joseph Josephs. He's got Matthew Morton right behind him as well. That's going to attempt to get around him. This is a scary part if you're Anthony Burrows and the FTN Chevy or Ford. Look at me. I'm all over. I looked at the Chevy there. There's so much going on that even I got confused. He's got damage all over that truck, Jason. Inside, outside, it doesn't matter. He's been hit.
Yeah, and Dan was just talking about that damage, and I mean, that truck has got heavy right side damage. He's got a little bit on the left rear. The left rear is not really going to affect him, obviously, as much as that right side, but that right side is going to drag him down drastically, especially if that right front fender is kind of curving down right onto the right front tire there. That's going to hurt him with drive off and making that truck rotate through the center of the corner. You saw that a couple weeks ago at Dover. That was a big issue because of just how dependent Dover is. And here we go. We got the leaders. Everybody's starting to pit. It looks like everybody took Dan's advice and started to pit around the lap 40 mark.
Well, they normally listen to the guy who, made it into the Coke Series from this series. And Dallas Patska is going to be one of the first ones. He was running inside the top 10. We'll see if it actually brings the leaders in, because Jackson Crowder is 3 seconds behind Kyle Peddle. Maybe he comes down and pits. Ben Badford's going to pit out of the 5th place position. That Nexus machine. There's a lot coming in. Triton's coming in. Christopher Hill's in. Daniel Nanny, Champagne, Hayes, they're all starting to funnel in, Daniel. They listen to your advice. We'll see if it pays off for them.
Yeah, pretty much standard service for all the front runners, playing it safe, easy to stop, probably. Tires are definitely way more important right now as we see here comes everyone else coming in, like Will Cooley and others, maybe trying to go an extra lap or two, maybe have that much more fresher tires for the later part of the race so they can be much more aggressive. So they pretty much everyone spent this whole first run just trying to take care of it, take care of their truck, take care of their tires, get to the first pit cycle, and then go and run wild, make your adjustments. Some people might be too loose, some people might be too tight. Adjust some air pressure, adjust some wedge, do what you need to do, get some adjustments in, and we'll see how you fare on the second run. As here comes the race leader, Kyle Pettle. He's coming pit road for service. We got more people. Nate Stewart is called over the radio. Jackson Crowder is on his way in. Daniel Smallwood, Kwame Scott. We got everybody coming down.
Well, I just noted their entry to pit road was unorthodox, but it worked. And they charged this. Like, they came into the door, and you just watched them go straight. They didn't even attempt, they didn't make it look hard like, you know, most people do when you see them get tricky this pit lane, Dan, to get on when it comes in the next gen car for the Coke Series or even for the truck.
Yeah, and that's something we haven't even talked about, like how tricky this pit road entry is, because just the way turns 3 and 4 is, and on old tires, on very old tires, you got to try to get your truck slowed down, but then you got to make a sharp left-hand turn to try to get down onto the from the 20 degrees or so banking in 3 and 4 to get it all the way down to the flat apron to get inside that orange cone, inside that orange line. As Joseph with, I guess, give him some style points. He made the box. They're going to give him service. It might be a little bit of a slow pit stop, but give him style points on that one as he's servicing the truck right now. And as we're seeing, it looks like most of the pit cycles are starting to file out. And got very, very close to that wall. Definitely affected his pit exit right now. But we do see some trucks that are still on the racetrack, like Rondoletto, Lowry, Burrows, Hunt, Vrabel, Tiras, Sylvia. Like, we got a few guys that are going to try to run this long, maybe do this on the one stop, maybe try to catch a caution. Because as I'm looking at the timing of scoring right now, there's only 10 guys on the lead lap right now. So if there's a caution right now, this changes everything.
Well, Jason, we could see a big shakeup here, and this would be the perfect time for a caution. Old tires getting charged by new tires. Do you think we see caution one here?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. But these guys, these Road to Pro guys, they know what they're doing. But I mean, then again, obviously, it does happen. This is racing. And, you know, with the old tires out here, I mean, 7 trucks are out there right now with no tires on these things. They're running 2 seconds slower, over 2 seconds slower, I should say, than the rest of the field that has pitted. And obviously, with some of those guys a lap down, currently from what I'm seeing up on the leaderboard right now, it looks like there's only 16, now 17 trucks on the lead lap here now. When you take these guys out here with damage, plus old tires and new tires, it's going to equal disaster. You're starting to see right here, 3 wide going into the corner right there, the 60, 89, 32. There's Burke, he's up into the wall, and the 32 had to really avoid it right there. And I believe that was Mitchell Hunt right there. He almost got sandwiched as well there in that number 21 machine. Oh my goodness. But yes, Terry, to go at your point, I believe it could happen because this is a recipe for disaster, especially with the slower guys basically causing a roadblock through the center of these corners, and especially with Darlington as well being a track that is just so tough to pass. They call it too tough to tame for a reason, and you're seeing it right now.
Sorry, we had a little contact between Nate Stewart and Kwame Scott. Looked like, I don't know if you tried to do some sort of bump and run or there was a little stack up trying to get around Mitchell Hunt there, but like, this is the risk we have. Like, just one little wrong hit, hit wrong little bump, little hit, trying to get around old tires. Caution is probably imminent here any moment, but these guys are doing pretty good so far. They're 50 laps complete.
Be interesting if we do see a caution flags. Look at Justin Lowry. There's Robbie Vrabel currently sitting in the 6th place position. It didn't look like he's attempting to come down pit road anytime soon. Going to try to play this strategy as long as possible. This might be the two-stop strategy that you spoke of earlier, with the multiple different strategies where someone's going to try to pit around lap 40 to take this into thirds. Some drivers are going to try to do this on 2 stops and have 10 lap pressure tires, as Jason alluded to, and now maybe 20 lap pressure tires. We'll see if that plays a factor in this, as lap times are not even close. I mean, I'm looking at a 29.5 for Kyle Peddle to a 31.5. For Octavio Rondaletto. It is a massive, massive drop of 2 seconds of what you see here as you look at leader in that 10 machine. A lot of drivers getting around him. There's Royal Alves, James Wenzel's on his way over there. Philip Groner's about to come up here and unlap himself. And the racing hasn't stopped. This has become the world's largest conveyor belt, as there's a car at every sector of this racetrack, Jason.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Darlington Raceway. This is a track that not only provides great racing, but it also provides great strategy here. Can't even tell you the amount of times where you've seen so many strategies played out in the Darlington Southern 500 or the Goodyear 400 here, or really any stock car race that's ever been held here. Tires mean so much, and you're clearly seeing it. And honestly, these guys might just have the upper edge by splitting this entire race in half with the one-stop strat. I mean, when you look at it right now, Jake Sylvia, those 7 cars that haven't pit right now, Jake Sylvia is right now the last car out of the bunch in 7th that hasn't pitted, and he's got a little under 2 seconds of a gap under Kyle Pettis. So if they time this right, yes, they're going to lose a ton of ground on track just because they're pitting so much later, but that being said, when it comes time to when they have those fresh tires here in just a handful of laps, they're going to be much faster than some of these guys. And so they're going to do the same strategy they're doing now. Only one stop and staying out the rest of the race. And so far, it's working out for them by staying out. They haven't really gotten caught by anybody right now. But Kyle Peddle is approaching Jake Sylvia, and he's now past him for position.
Well, 12.8 seconds separates the race leader from Kyle Peddle, who was the race leader when pit stops, came in, and that was, I mean, Kyle pitted on lap 44. It's now lap 57 once Octavio Rondaletto crosses this start-finish line. But Dan, you love strategy just as much as I do. This is what makes me want to call races, is breaking down the numbers. Hey, does this really look like the strategy if you're splitting it in half to win this race? Because, well, Kyle Peddle's kind of tearing this lead down quite a bit. He came down from a lap down all the way back around, and it looks like he's about to catch him really fast.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to bring up, because I'm trying to look at the intervals every single lap, watching Octavio's lap times and watching Kyle Peddle's lap times and just watching the interval. That last lap, he was 11.8 seconds behind Octavio. As he hits the line right now he is now 10.6. So he had that advantage, but that advantage is coming down just a little bit. Because Octavio, while he may be on really old tires, his tires are probably evening out. He's running consistent same lap times, as Kyle's tires are starting to go away a little bit now, and now that the freshness is kind of worn off. So, if you're Octavio, if you're Justin Lowry, if you're Mitchell Hunt, I'm looking pretty good, because they're maybe only 3-4 laps away from hitting, and if they can keep this advantage, and they can stop one more time, I really think it's in their hands, because these guys, look, they're going to have their fresh tires, they're going to make up their time as well, and these guys got to make one more pit stop. So, like I said, it's really the first race all year that we've really seen a true strategy race. Like, what's better, the one stop or the two stop? And this is what I love. I love me some strategy, even though I'm not very good at calling strategy myself. That's why I get myself wrecked 90% of the time, or I'm always friggin' running middle of the pack most of the time. But I just love watching the strategy just play out from the top of the broadcast booth. So Anthony Burrows has just pitted. Octavio Rondaletto, Justin Lowry, I think they are calling. Octavio just called out. He's coming pit road this time, and so is Justin Lowry. So now I think the real race is now about to begin, as we're about to hit halfway.
Strategy comes into effect. Justin Lowry will come down. Kyle Peddle will reassume this race lead now. He takes the race lead back over from Octavio Rondaletto in the number 10 machine. Justin Lowry sliding down the board like we kind of imagined here. Now the games have begun. We're still waiting on Jake Sylvia to come down for his first stop of this race. He lost quite a bit of spots. He fell back to the 8th place position when the leader started to catch him, the net overall race leader. So now we got to bring up a total different point of net overall leader versus the person who took the lead on strategy. So if all of this plays out, what say you, Jason, if a caution comes out and you're maybe, I don't know, Silvio, you're Rondoletto, do you come down and pit and maybe see if you could force Kyle Peddle and them to pit? Or do you and hope that the track position plays for you?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough decision. I mean, and that's all depending, obviously, on when the caution, or if the caution does come out, and if it does come out, when is it going to come out? And when it is going to come out, is it going to come out early like they are right now, how they're pitting still? Jake Sylvia is finally on pit road. I mean, right now, they're realistically, if I'm looking at the leaderboards correctly, it looks like they are going to go, I believe, a lap down, obviously. So, I mean, if the caution comes out right now, that's not going to be a good thing here for Jake Sylvia and these guys. They're going to want to obviously have their run play in a little bit more until obviously they get some tire wear going down and stuff like that, and they can get back on the lead lap. But I mean, if a caution comes out right now, it's not looking very good for those guys. I think that they're hoping that this race goes green entirely all the way.
Yeah, I would imagine that a lot of these drivers are the ones that are on that strategy are hoping it goes green. I think the ones who pitted on lap 40 is kind of hoping for a kind of time around lap 80 hits when they came down pit road, or when they would. You take a look at the battle for 10th here. It's Seth Ryder. He's holding off Daniel Nanny, Nate Stewart, Kwame Scott, Connor Euroshak, who we haven't talked about at all. He's up to 13th from 14th. Hasn't made a whole lot of ground, but Connor Euroshak still quietly just riding a little bit outside the top 10 and could strike at any time.
You know, so something I want to bring up too, Terry, is the advantage that Kyle Peddle had on Octavia and all those guys. He had 40-lap fresher tires. Now, here's something we need to know. When he comes back to pit road, he's only going to have a 20-lap advantage this time around. Because if they continue to split this into thirds, they're going to be pitting in, I'd say, about maybe 15 laps time from now. So their advantage is not going to be as good as it was last time. So that's something you got to take into account too. While Octavia and those guys, now they got their 20-lap fresher tires than Kyle and these guys. And then once it flips back around to Kyle having his advantage, it's not going to be as good as it was when he had 40-lap fresher tires compared to he's only going to have 20-lap fresher tires this time around. So, but I'd say this race, if this goes green, the race is wide open.
Okay, well, let me ask this. Let's play math here for a second. So you talked about Octavio came down on lap 60. Okay, you said we're now going to be about 13 laps away. So he'll have a give or take 20 laps, 19 to 20, depends on when Kyle Peddle comes back down. What's the fall off on lap 20 that you're going to see? Because at the initial point of the race, we were on lap 12. We only saw about a half a second, 3 to a half a second fall off. If you're Octavio Rondoletto, where are you putting yourself on pushing that truck? Conservative here, or are you trying to give it hell?
I would say with how very little laps that you got to run, or if you're in Kyle Peddle's position, you can go a little bit harder than Octavio, because Octavio, even though he might have the little advantage right now, he's going to have to go longer on tires. Don't forget, Kyle Peddle might not have the advantage like he had before, but Octavio, he still has to run 60 laps, so his fall-off is going to be greater. But with Kyle Peddle pitting, he's going to want to push hard to get up back to the lead. It's just, the harder he pushes, his tire's just going to fall off quicker. So whatever he has, he ain't going to have that advantage for too long if he tries to run hard. So, like we saw, over like maybe 20 laps, it's maybe half second to a second probably. It just depends on how hard you go. So we're really not going to see like as we got James Wetzel on the wall here battling with Santiago Gutierrez here. We ain't really going to see what this race is going to look like until we see Kyle Peddle or we see all these guys that are on the two-stop come back to the pits. I'd say if you're Octavio Rondoletto or Justin Lowry, who are the top two on the one-stop strategy, I'm going to say you are in a good spot if this goes green. Because it's either going to be decided between those two or Kyle Petty that's going to decide this race.
It looks to me, if my timing and scoring is correct, they're close to being back on the, if not back on the lead lap currently. We'll see.
Yes. I'm sorry. You know me if I break back into here, Terry. It's something I want to bring up. It's going to depend. You may have the fall, but this is what we're talking about as we're on board James Wetzel. Look at all the traffic that's in front of him too. This is something you got to take into account too, with how narrow the racing surface here is here, and you got to get through traffic. Depending on how effective you get through traffic, that's going to make up most time you're going to make on the racetrack. So if you're effective with your passes, effective with how you get around traffic, you're good with your tires, and like I said, Kyle Petty, he's most likely probably going to go one lap down to Octavio. And he ain't going to have a lot of laps to try to make up a whole mile and a third all the way back to the leader. Especially when you're trying to get through traffic too, along with trying to manage his tires and trying to push as hard as you can. So, like I said, the race is wide open, and it's going to be how effective you're able to drive. You're going to need to put in all the skills you've learned over the years to try to get you to this level, to make quick time, make good pace, and hopefully if this goes green, you put yourself in a great spot to maybe go win this thing.
Yeah, for everybody watching this is your traditional broadcast. Like there's no certain role. I try to paint it to everybody, but I have one of the best drivers on iRacing. He's one of the top 40 drivers on the iRacing service currently at this moment. A driver who's made it to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series for Joe Gibbs Racing. You can interrupt me anytime you want to. You know more than I. If you're telling me strategy, I'm all for it. But here's the thing I would kind of throw out here, Jason. He just gave us a math problem, right? Traffic over time of the tires, over laps to be completed, and it's X, Y, and Z to create what the finishing position's going to be. That's too much math for me to do. My South Alabama education didn't get far in life. But let's ask you, education might be a little higher in the New York, Jersey area. Do you think within a shadow of a doubt that Octavio Rondeletto, barring a caution, could win this race and set himself up with a great ticket to punch himself into the top 70?
That's a lot of math, man. I don't know if I can do this one. Anyways, but on that being said, Octavio Rondeletto, you talked about too with Dan, and Dan said it perfectly. The traffic, the tires, every single lap truck that you get to, and the more difficult it is to pass, that is time lost on the racetrack. That it could be a tenth, it could be 2/10. Heck, it could be an entire second or 2 seconds, depending on how much somebody holds you up. So if Octavio wants to try to win this race, he's going to have to get up to the front as quickly as possible, make his way around all the lap trucks, and we're not lap trucks because they're all on the lead lap, but make sure he can get all the way up through the field when these guys do pit, and then he's going to be able to save his tires enough so that he can get to the end, but he can't save drastically. If he saves too much, he's going to lose a lot of time, but if he goes too hard, he's still going to lose a lot of time. It's not really a win-win scenario for Octavio.
Maybe lap 83 to 84 because they pitted on lap 44, so a perfect split puts them at the 84 bracket. But I'm looking at lap times here for a second, Dan. Octavio just ran a 30.84. His flap of the race was a 29.3. He was a tenth off of what Kyle Petty ran with the 29.2. Kyle Petty ran a 31.0 there. It wasn't much of a difference, but is that going to make a big hill of beans when we get towards the fact that, well, when he pits, he has to turn the wick up to that?
Yeah, this is something we need to note as well. With Octavio, with him no longer coming to pit road, he doesn't have to worry about trying to drive through traffic. He's going to be the one that people are going to be passing to try to get around him. So he can just drive his race, he can drive his line, and he can worry about letting everyone else go around him. So that's the good part about him. With Kyle Petty, he's going to be, as we see Jackson Crowder coming to pit road, once Kyle Petty pits, as we see more guys coming to pit road, he's going to need to navigate traffic, but he's going to have to put in probably like 35, 40 qualifying laps consistently. And that's not going to be good for the tires, but that's what he's going to have to do because he's most likely going to be going a lap down to Octavio when he pits. So he's got to make up an entire lap in a span of those 30 or so laps as he's coming to pit road right now. Boys, this is where the race is getting ready to begin, Terry.
So the race within the race to find out who wins the race as Will Cooley, Kyle Peddle, Hill, Crowder, Patska, all of these drivers are on pit road and now exiting. Ben Badford takes the race lead here. We've had numerous lead changes. There has not been a pass for the lead under the green flag conditions minus pit stops. So the driver, Kyle Peddle, the one machine, has not been passed on the racetrack. He's been passed on pit road. Nate Stewart currently finds himself second. There's Avio. He's running a 30.8. Baffert comes to pit road. Nate Stewart comes to pit road. So now all of our drivers who pitted on lap 59 all the way to lap 60, Lowry, Hunt, Burrows, Tires, they're all 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is where they sit at the moment. It puts Kyle Peddle, once everything cycles through, we'll see what the exact time is, Jason, but man, it's a big gap.
Yeah, and it really is a big gap, and Octavio Rondoletto is going to have a big gap here, but I mean, it's going to be really, really close, and he's only going to have, right now, as it currently sits out on the racetrack, Kyle Peddle is back by Octavio Rondoletto by 18 seconds, and it is closing fast. Honestly, just by looking at the data right now from the Apex Racing TV live timing and scoring right now that we have provided for us, I don't think this strategy personally is going to work out for Octavio Rondoletto. And I mean, if Kyle Peddle keeps on charging the way he is with those fresh Goodyear Eagles, I think he's going to get up to Octavio. And I think Octavio's just going to have to settle in for just trying to hang on for a top 5, top 10 spot, especially with some of those other guys as well right now. Like you see, I believe right now, Justin Lowry, Mitchell Hunt, Anthony Burrows, all the guys who are on that one-stop strategy. Santiago Tires has already been passed by Kyle Peddle, and now a couple weeks ago, the Dover winner, Jackson Crowder, in the number 19 machine. I just don't think this strategy, personally, from the way it's playing out right now, and Dan hit the nail on the head earlier again as well, with, him having to go to the pits and then have that advantage, but then, because he stayed out for so long, he kind of lost a little bit. Even though he's in the lead right now, I just don't think that the strategy is going to work out for Octavio Rondoletto. I think he's going to have to have a caution come out if he's going to try to win this race.
Yeah, here's the next this driver slap 29.2. But I'll bring up your point with the math equation you brought, because Kyle Peddle's going to have to drive 12 out of those tires to get all the way to the number 10 machine of Rondoletto. Does that, by the time he gets to him, if he has to push that hard through traffic, does that equal us out a little bit? And maybe he goes stationary with about, 4 or 5 seconds?
I don't know. We're going to have to see what's going to happen here. Wait a minute. Octavio's going to pit road, guys.
What? He is pitting. What?
Octavio is going to pit
strategy?
road. I wonder, did he not get enough fuel in the truck? Did he forget to put fuel in it? I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the auto fuel maybe screwed him up a little bit or what, but dude, he was on a perfect strategy, maybe not to win the race, but maybe to get a top 5 out of this deal, because he looked like he had pretty good driving position, and now he's probably not even going to finish in the top 20.
Wow.
Big shakeup here as the race leader is coming to pit road for 4 fresh tires, filling it up. We still have on the 58 to 60 strategy at the moment. Justin Lowry sits P3. Mitchell Hunt in 5th. You got Anthony Burrows in 6th. Santiago Tires in 8th. You got to go all the way down to Jake Sylvia. That will round out right there with Robbie Vrabel Jr. and all of them outside the top 15. Putting them there, but what a turn of events, Jason. We didn't think that he was coming back down, and now he has 0 advantage because, well, he only pitted, 8 laps after the race leader did.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate here, and it's unfortunate to see that, Octavio's, call to come into pit road there is really what's going to loosen this race, and it's not going to be the fact that he played his strategy all the way out until the end, but maybe, he thought that something could happen. Honestly, I mean, if I were him, I think I would have waited a little bit. I mean, maybe Dan is right. Maybe he didn't get enough fuel in the truck. Maybe he didn't stay in the box long enough. Maybe he didn't put on the black box to add any fuel. That can happen. That's happened to me before. I've made mistakes in some C-fixed races and B-fixed races where I come down into the pits and I forgot to check my dang tires. It happens, man. It's a common mistake. You're only human. I mean, obviously, we're not, making any accusations or anything like that. We're just seeing from what we're calling, or we're calling what we're seeing here, and that could be the case. But I mean, if I were the 10 right there, I would have probably waited until around maybe lap 95, 100, hit it, and then try to see if you can get a late race caution. Heck, maybe even 110, but I doubt he could have made it that far. I just don't know, but it's so unfortunate to see him come into the pits. And now, right now, he's the last car on the lead lap right now, all the way in 30th. Now Santiago here, he's out of fuel. So these guys ran it all the way dry pretty much. Santiago Tires is out of fuel, shaking it. He's into his box. So I believe, just from the observation that Santiago Tires is out of fuel, I think Dan was right. I don't think that those guys got enough fuel in the truck.
I think he packed it up and said he was going home.
I'm still at a loss for words. Octavio was in a golden position to get, maybe not get the win, but to get some great points. I'm not sure exactly where he is in the top 70, so it may have not affected him at all. But just it kind of perplexed me. We'll have to check the points, see where it shakes out after we're done here tonight. But now, I guess, the way I see it right now, I mean, we still got a few guys that are out here stretching it. I just don't see why they would pit, because, they made it to 60 no problem. So that's why I can only think is maybe, because this auto fuel feature that we have on iRacing over the last few weeks or so, the last month, it has cost a lot of guys some races, because, the auto fuel has really messed with, getting the truck filled up with gas, where it may not fill them up all the way. It only fills them to a certain amount. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, or unless they just flat out forgot to put fuel in it, because I don't see why they couldn't have made it if they made it to 60 the first time. So it's just, I'm at a loss for words, and we'll have to see. I don't know see what happens, but we got guys like Mitchell Hunt out here still in the one-stop strategy, trying to stretch it out, try to get some points, maybe try to get a caution too, because even though we pretty much know we got the race set in stone now, we still have 25 laps to go left in this race, so a caution could come out at any time and just change the game completely. As that Mitchell Hunt, he's coming to pit road.
He is coming to pit road. Justin Lauer, if we could go up to the 5th place position, the 25, is the driver who's currently impressing out of the people who split into two. Sits 5th. He holds about a second and a half-ish over Trayton in 6th in the 32 machine. He's up 11 spots. He's the biggest mover so far in this race on the strategy call. Good point save for Justin Lauer if he could finish up here. He's got a pretty decent gap all the way back to 15th if that's indeed where he potentially falls to. But what in the world, Jason? We thought it was all mapped out for us, that the strategy call was going to come down to the end. We've still yet to see a green flag pass for the race lead. We've seen pit cycles change the race lead, but it has been the Kyle Petty show. But hey, don't look now. If you're a fan of intervals, or as my buddy Joey Tebbin says, ticker watchers, 1.3 and shrinking for Dover's winner Jackson Crowder, catching the one at Kyle Petty.
Yeah, and that time around he gained a couple tenths, but the last time around when they did hit the line, it was a 30-28 for Kyle Petty, a 30-33, and there goes the 28. That might be a yellow. We'll have to see. Justin Lowry sideways on the front straightaway right there. I don't know if he saved it. That wasn't
caution!
Yes. Oh my goodness!
Out.
Wow.
Okay, can I ask a stupid question? Does Octavio Rondeletto and the drivers who potentially or that are still a lap down, who aren't going to get it as we take a look at the replay here. We'll see what brought this out. Here we go with the 21 of Hunt. He gets loose, he catches the wall, bounces back up. There's not a caution, not yet. Here's this wreck that's going to happen here as the 54 slides it in there. That brings the yellow flag out. Caution number 1 with 20 laps to go in split number 2. Does the drivers who were 1 lap down, and it should be Octavio Rondoletto, the free pass here because he is currently 25th, the first car 1 lap down. Do they take the wave around and pray for a caution to wave?
I mean, I'd have to. It's literally the only option you got, and I'm just, if I'm Octavio and those guys, I am kicking myself right now. Because I don't know if, like I said, we don't know if it was a fuel issue, we don't know if it was part of the strategy, but that was a caution you probably needed to win the race or to get a great finish, and now they're probably the best finish they're going to get is maybe 20th or so. So they're going to have to stay out, get the wave around, and try to salvage whatever they can get left of this race. But the thing is now, this race is now wide open. Kyle Petty was probably on his way to an easy victory, but now he's going to have to get through some restarts, probably going to get through some more wrecks, because we're under 20 laps to go. Chaos is probably about to ensue and business is about to pick up as we're going to see who's going to get first off pit road here. Looks like it's going to be Kyle Petty, Jackson Crowder, and others.
Well, I wouldn't have necessarily said before we kick it to whatever we're about to kick to on the screen, I wouldn't have said it would have been an easy victory here for Kyle Petty because I don't know, we haven't talked about the third factor. We've talked about the track being tough. We've talked about pit road being weird. The sun's going down. This track is starting to come down cooler and cooler and cooler, and maybe, just maybe, that played into Jackson Crowder's hands, and that 19 machine was making a beeline for the race lead. But now the door is wide open, like you said. Now we have all of these drivers up front, ready to go. As I think Octavio Rondoletto got the free pass here. He's going to come down pit road, and whatever we're about to put on the screen to surprise me with, let's do it. There we go. My favorite thing to read as the first caution comes out of the day with 18 to go. If you want to keep up with the latest news and updates from the world of eNASCAR, scan the QR code. If you're on your phone, too easy. Go to YouTube, go to FTN or look up LSRTV, scan the QR code, or just go to eNASCAR.com. It's your portal to it. And, well, I guess while we're at it in promo session, if you want to join iRacing, go to iRacing.com right there and start your iRacing career today. Who knows? Maybe in the next year or two, we'll see you in the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series on the road to $300,000. I wish I had $300,000, Jason. I would buy a ton of Coke Zero because it is the official refreshment of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
You hear something? You hear something, Dan? You hear something? I don't know.
What am I
it just
hearing?
sounds like a bug in my ear.
I heard a really good Coke plug. That's all I heard.
I'm hearing some shameless plug. That's supposed to be me doing that kind of stuff. But anyway, as we're getting ready.
Dan, where's your Coke at?
Hey, I'm drinking some nice cold water right now. I'm trying to be healthy, you know,
okay.
just drinking nice cold water.
Wait, is it Dasani at least? At least a Coke product?
It's Poland Spring, right out of the state of Maine. It's so good.
Okay, good. Shameless plugs is all we're at here. Come on, people. It's shameless plug time. The first caution comes out. You have to plug the eNASCAR stuff. We're doing an eNASCAR show. I got told I couldn't plug the newest official shop, which is it's fine. But I mean, it was pretty big news in the. It was big news in the eNASCAR world that McConey Setup Shop partnered with them and became the official partner. The home for C fixed. There's a lot of great things in eNASCAR, and it's good to throw it out here. But as the 54's back bumper says, hot tamales, Kyle Petty is on the loud pedal as he's going. As Dallas Patska's going to try to pull for P2. 3 wide already on the start, Jason.
Yeah, you're starting to see 3 wide back behind there. It looks like, if I'm I'm not mistaken, I believe that's Justin Lowry back there as well. You see, though, Jackson Crowder under attack right now. He's loose off the corner, sideways, just barely clears Dallas Pataska, but everybody kind of scrambling all over down the back straightaway into turn number 3. They're 2 and almost 3 wide here, Dan, as they work their way off 4, approaching 15 laps to go.
It is 2 by 2 by 2 throughout this entire field right now, single file up front. This is where everyone's going to be running at their hardest, trying to get everything they can, try to run some different lines. Everyone's been running the bottom, trying to save tires. Everyone's probably going to get ready to rip the wall through 3 and 4, because that seems to be the fastest line around here. We got a little bit of blocking down the back straightaway. Eddie Kerner, Justin Lowry, for Justin Lowry, it paid off really big for him with that caution flag doing that one stopper. He started back in 16. He's running here in the top 10. And we got more side-by-side action that looks to be Seth Ryder and Kwame Scott back there for a spot inside the top 10. As we got, looks like I'm trying to do my math, 14 laps to go here at Darlington.
Yeah, 14 laps to go, and fastest lap of the race just went to this man, Kyle Peddle. He's been the dominator all race long, has not been passed under the green flag condition. 29.10. We're creeping down to qualifying laps quite literally here this afternoon as the sun's starting to set. We're starting to see it here as well. Wow. Okay. Jackson Crowder said, anything you can do, I can do better. He sets the exact same lap time as Kyle Peddle. In that time, he beat him by, just a measly 1/1000th of a second. Separated Kyle Peddle and Jackson Crowder's fastest lap time. It's starting to tick down as you see side by side with Kerner and Crowder being a big recipient of the caution flag coming out. Caution number 2. And I don't know this. I think we're about to have another battle for the lead as Crowder was starting to close.
Yeah, it's Daniel Nanny back in turns 3 and 4, back in the 18th spot. He looks like he got up into the outside wall with a little help, it looks like, from James Wetzel. We're going to go back and look at the replay here in just a second. Here we're seeing the replay. Here they go, going through turns 1 and 2. Big single file line. Everyone's bumper to bumper, trying to get everything they can get in these final 15 laps. And here's what happens. You're going into turn 3. James Wetzel just gets in the left rear of Daniel Nanny. He saves initially. Get into the wall, and then he's ricocheting off Matthew Zwack there in the 18. He goes around, backs it into the wall. Watch out for everyone else coming on by. No one else gets collected. We have another caution with 11 laps to go. And now, what do you do now? If I'm the leaders, I'm probably staying out. But we'll have to see after this commercial break, Terry.
Yeah, we'll kick it to a quick side-by-side real quick. You're watching the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series simulcasted on FTN and LSRTV.
At Click It RV, we know there's a lot of heritage and history at this location. RV sales and service has been part of this community for decades. We knew there was an incredible opportunity here, but to see where we've come in just a year is incredible. None of it would be possible without the patronage and support from this community. So whether it be a more convenient and accessible service drive, a fully stocked parts department, or this amazing sales facility, what drives this team daily is making sure our customers leave here with the best possible experience.
Welcome back to the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series on FTN and LSRTV. I'm Terry Radford, Jason Rockefeller, and I got Daniel Falkingham with me. I want to take something new in this since we're on caution 2 with 10 laps to go. Dan, I'll start with you. Who are you taking to win this race?
I mean, you can't go wrong with Kyle Peddle, race leader. He's pretty much been the fastest man. He started on the pole, has been up front with him on the 2-stop strategy, been the most preferable strategy for tonight's race. He's been the leader. He's had the most advantage. He's been in the clean air. I don't see how you don't take him on in these final 10 laps.
Jason, what says you?
I tell you what, there's 2 54s right there up at the front with their sim stamp numbers, but I tell you what, that 54, that red hot tamale machine, baby, that Chevrolet has been flying these last few laps right on the restart. he was practically on the loud pedal telling Kyle Peddle that, hey, man, I may not have the last name Peddle, but I have a bigger loud pedal than you. And he was flying, posted practically the same fastest lap time as Kyle Peddle. I think Jackson Crowder can go back-to-back in Split 2. And also mind the fact, just for a little bit of story, Jackson Crowder is the one who beat out Kyle Peddle a couple weeks ago at Dover because Peddle ran really hard trying to catch him, got himself up into the outside wall in the last handful of laps, could not catch Crowder. So this would be great to see Kyle Peddle redeem himself after finishing second to Crowder, but Crowder just really wants that lead, man. He can smell it, he can taste it, he sees that number 54 back bumper, but I think that red 54 is the one who gets it done tonight.
Well, fine. You took my pick, but Dallas Patska sits P3 in the number 23 Curb Chevy Silverado. I say that the two 54s wreck each other, and the 23 of Dallas Patska goes from third to first in the last corner of the last lap. Take that one to the bank. Dallas Patska win at Darlington here this afternoon. Only time's going to tell. We're going to take the green flag with 7 laps to go. Did anybody learn what Kyle Peddle's done on the restart?
No, we're about to find out if anyone has learned anything. But I think if you're Kyle, you're probably going to want to change it up here. I get he wants to go early, get that huge advantage. But who knows? Jackson Crowder might time it better, and he could be right on his bumper ending turn 1 and 2, and then maybe have a shot down at the other end of the speedway. So. If I'm Kyle Peddle, might have to try to change it up or just keep doing with what works and just maybe you can hold them off. But we're about to find out as we're going green with 7 to go here, Terry.
I will give the update there. For Octavio Rondoletto, he's 19th here. So good little rebound here from him. Green flag is not back in the air, but Kyle Peddle, he went earlier than he's went before. It's 2 by 2 throughout the field. It's just a 2 and then a 1 and then a 2. But Jackson Crowder gets held to the outside. Dallas Patska takes the second place position, and a lot of argy-bargy going on there behind him. What does the 23 have down here as we look right into the 32?
Yeah, the 23 right here, he's going to have to close in a ton here on Kyle.
Oh, we have someone on the apron, Kwame Scott. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. Kwame Scott was down on the apron entering turn 3. Don't know if he got spun out of line, if the caution's going to come back out once more. We had a whole ton of action going down into turns 3 and 4. The action is picking up. We're going to need a replay on that one, but I just saw out of the corner of my eye, I saw a big old white and orange 99 truck down into 3 and 4 on the apron. It was getting crazy.
Oh, man. Here. We're about to get it here. We're 3 wide going to the corner, Jason, and walk me through this.
Oh. Yeah, the 10 just got into the back. 10 of Octavio Rondoletto got right into the back. You see Kwame Scott up there. And, oh, no, not the 27 Dale Jr. Nationwide throwback. Oh, that's so unfortunate, man. I love that scheme so much. That's one of my favorite junior schemes for Nationwide that he ran throughout his years at Nationwide on the car. That's unfortunate, but yeah, just getting in there a little too hot. You saw the 10 run into the back of the 11. I believe that was Jordan Kuntz, if I'm not mistaken, obviously with the sim stamp numbers and then the official numbers kind of mixes it up here in our brains up in the booth. But yeah, that was just guys going at it. They're trying to get every position they can. You saw the 11 got rear-ended from the 10 right there, sent him around, and unfortunately because of the product, Terry, that this track is just so tight, so narrow, so fast, it just really, there's just nowhere to go for these guys.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Well, Dan, we flip-flopped every one of our picks but yours. Yours still holds the race lead.
Yeah, mine still holds the race lead. Bray's been controlling this entire race. Looks like, I guess, Dick Stovey getting a lap back there. But I'm sorry, I did not even see that wreck happening up behind. I don't know if we're able to get a replay on the 99 or whatever Kwame Scott's number is in sim. But it looked like between him and Nate Stewart, there was a little bit of contact that sent Kwame down onto the flat in turn 3. It looks like he was going to come back into traffic. But thankfully, no one else hit him. But unfortunately, that cost Kwame all of his track position. But I don't know if that was the cause of a stack up that prevented that, or that caused that wreck down into 3 and 4. But I just saw that out of the corner of my eye, and I thought we were going to have a bigger mess than what it was. Here's what I'm talking about. this is a restart, bumper-to-bumper action. They're 1-2. Nate Stewart, he gets in the back of Kwame there. Ain't the first time he's gotten into him tonight. And here they come off at turn number 2. Down the back straightaway, Kwame and Eddie Kerner side by side, and then I guess Nate just trying to roll in line, and then, ooh, just hooks him down into turn number 3. They keep it straight, and then there's Kwame back into the middle of the track, and then I don't know if that's what's caused the stack up there in the middle of 3 and 4. Thankfully, Kwame didn't get hit by anybody else, but unfortunately, that cost him a lot of track position, and not going to set him up here for this final restart. Yeah, I don't know, like they split him so crazy.
That's talent at its finest. And like I said in the previous caution before the last caution, the only way you gain skill like that is to go to iRacing.com and get 40% off initial memberships.
How many shameless plugs was that tonight, Terry?
That one was a shameless plug.
How many we up to tonight, Terry?
I've got so many. I've got a whole bag of them behind me. I mean, I can throw the Wendy's one out there if you want. The Logitech. I've got them all ready. Just a tough crowd up here. Fans watching, you see what I deal with up here? I throw great promos out there. This is just a tough crowd.
I think Dan and I are going to go get a couple biggie bags after this race is done. I think we're going to exclude you.
See, I think I rubbed off on him.
No, you didn't. It's just we want to go get biggie bags. We want to leave.
Nah. Well, what's unfortunate about that is the nearest Wendy's to me is like an hour and a half away from me. So, and I don't go driving out of this late at night. So, I'll probably live in the middle of nowhere. That's what I get for living in Maine, I guess. I guess that's just what I got to deal with, unfortunately. But that's just my way of life here, I guess.
We'll definitely hold it against you that your nearest Wendy's, and who knows? Do you live in a decently sized town that could potentially withstand a Wendy's?
Probably not, but the town I live in, it's a great community. A lot of people that I live around, it's a great community. Of course, where I live is the capital, is pretty much the lobster capital of Maine. As we're going back green here, we'll talk about more of this off camera, but we're going back green as Kyle Pennell takes off on the restart, and Dallas Pataska, he hung with him there pretty good on the restart, and they're side by side for P3 into turn 1.
Yeah, this is a good racing here as it is 0.2 of a second separates Pennell from Patska. It's a 2x2 battle for, I think he said Lapshevich, I think is how they pronounce this in my chat. He rides P4. I was kind of hoping he wouldn't have been up in the front. No disrespect to the 32 machine, but yeah, it's. I'll let Jason read the final end here. He's going to sit here. We're going to have one lap to go for the eNASCAR Road to Pro Series. It's Pennell, Patska sitting here 1-2, 0.2 of a second separates it down the back straightaway, starts to close in. One last ditch effort into turns 3 and 4. Does he send it? He does not. Coming off of turns 3 and 4, he has not been passed one time under the green flag condition through 3 and 4. Kyle Pennell wins at Darlington.
Wow. I thought Dallas was going to try to do the little bit of a dive bomb right there, man. But what a great race. Like Dan just said, that race had pretty much everything. It was long green flag runs, tire strategy. You had drama. You had wrecks. You had late race restarts. Everything that you can want, practically just like last week's NASCAR Cup Series race in Kansas. And I'm going to bet your bottom dollar it's going to be like that this weekend for the real Darlington Raceway. But Kyle Pennell, man, what a way to redeem himself from a couple weeks ago at Dover, facing down Jackson Crowder. And it just so happens that tonight, after finishing second to him a couple weeks ago, tonight he gets it done. And Terry, you were right, man. He didn't get past one time under green flag conditions besides when the pits were open.
Well, and for the people who are wondering who won Split 1, Agnell Phillip takes that prestige in Split 1 over on FTF. He held out. I don't have the results in front of me. I'm watching the broadcast, but yeah, 3 total cautions, 12 caution laps, 6 lead changes, and that's not indicative of what really happened. That was pit cycle. That was people taking the race lead, leading 1 lap or 2 laps. Nobody led as many laps as Kyle Peddle did. He had a mission tonight, Dan. Don't do what he did at Dover. He burned it up trying to catch Jackson Crowder. This time, he sets the victory. He's doing what an impressive burnout all the way up down the front straightaway.
Absolutely, like I said, well-deserved win. Was not passed for the lead once. And like I said, like Jason said, this race had everything in it. We had strategy. We had a little bit of comers and goers there for a little bit. Tire fall off that made the race exciting. Like what was going to be better, the 1-stop, the 2-stop. A lot of people looked like they were on a good strategy for the 1-stop. Some people had to pit late because they maybe didn't have the fuel or some other strategy gone wrong. But I think we got everything I think you would want in any sort of race, especially like what we've seen over the past few weeks, where every race seemed to be a 1-stop. But tonight we had to change it up a little bit at good old slick and worn out Darlington. So definitely probably one of the most fun races I've had to call this season.
Yeah, definitely had a really good time. We'll touch key points of the top finishers here. Trayton up 5 positions, comes in 4th. Nate Stewart jumped up 3 to jump up to 8th. We'll go to the second page where you're going to find the biggest mover of this race, or the second biggest mover, I'm sorry, Matthew Morton finishing P11. That was good one. Octavio Rondoletto rebounding. He was 1 lap down and put himself back up into the 12th place position. Kwame Scott lost 11 positions to finish in 17th. You got Kevin Champagne. Connor Euroshak finished 14th. He finished where he started. The next page is where we're going to find, well, I'm sorry, Justin up there in the 18th position. He actually was the biggest mover, plus 13. Matthew Swack, Anthony Burrows, who had a strong run early, coming home 22nd. What surprises you right here, Jason, at the bottom portion of this field that we didn't think that we were going to see starting it?
Oh, man, honestly, man, I think that James Wenzel coming home in 30th was one of my things that I think, really just wasn't all that. Tonight he struggled a lot. And for a guy from a few weeks ago, he was in contention to win at Bristol with Anthony Burrows. They had that stolen away from them by Daniel Eberhardt in split 2, and James Wenzel coming home 30th place, man. 5 laps down in that number 13 machine. That is a tough pill to swallow if you're James Wenzel in the 13 machine.
And then we're wrapping up Dennis Smallwood, Santiago, Thomas Lewandowski. They're rounding out the final 3 to wrap up the field tonight. Just a lot of people had some tough nights tonight, but at the end of Darlington, we got 1 race left after this race. A lot of people might have locked in to round 2 after tonight, so a lot of people are going to be breathing easy going into Charlotte. There's going to be a lot of other guys that are going to be breathing heavy, trying to make sure they can lock themselves back into round 2. Looking forward to 2 weeks in Charlotte, but I believe we have our race winner standing by, hopefully here shortly.
Yeah, we absolutely do. We'll take a quick pause right here. We have to get our stuff transitioned back to the Discord side of things. We'll let you know when we get with that going. Welcome back to the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying series, and we have our winner. He's actually going to stand by with Jason Rockefeller.
Man, you came home tonight in such good fashion. I mean, from coming home, first. You came home second just a handful of weeks ago at Dover Motor Speedway, and you lost to Jackson. Obviously, you were so fast, though, man. But tonight, you turned it all around, man. How does it feel to come home a winner at Darlington, that 54 machine?
That feels pretty good to actually, finally close one of these out. It's been 2 years since my last win in Road to Pro when we closed it out at Dover, so it's kind of nice to be back in the winner's circle again.
So, man, very, very happy to see you obviously come home with the W tonight. Obviously, a couple weeks from now, Charlotte, final race for round 1 of the series before you guys go into round 2. What's your mindset going over there to try and get that race done in just a couple weeks?
Oh, honestly, it's same mindset, same focus. Actually, probably going to go to one of the best tracks for me on the service now. I went from Darlington, a track that I hated, that apparently I can do well at, which was nice. But now we're going to go to Charlotte with no pressure again, because I'm pretty sure with this win that locks us into round 2. So we literally just get to go out next week and actually have some fun with it.
So, man, I'm very, very glad to hear that you're actually looking forward to Charlotte. Now, obviously, this racetrack tonight, very, very abrasive surface. What was your favorite thing about running here tonight? Obviously, the track, the sun was beating on it just a little bit, was going down, then the track started to get a little bit cooler as the night progressed. What was your favorite thing? Was it the tire wear? Was it the racing? Was it practically dominating this entire race? I mean, what was your favorite thing to take away from tonight's race?
Oh, definitely being able to keep the confidence rolling from Dover to be able to lead this many laps and to get the win. But definitely these last couple weeks, it's been nice going to actually driver-oriented tracks where you have to manage the tires. You can't just drive them off, or you'll end up going backwards. So you kind of have to find that nice edge between driving hard but not driving too hard. So that's why I love coming to these type of tracks where it really puts the skill back into the driver's hands.
Can't wait to see you in just a couple weeks at Charlotte. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your win tonight for you and those 54 guys tonight, man. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you. There's just a couple people that I have to thank before I get off here. I got to thank Dot City Gaming, Gamer Saloon. Those guys have been incredible coming on board for this year. I got a huge shout out to Cody Bias for spotting and helping tune on this truck, and same thing with Jarrett Liebert. Without those guys, I don't think I'd be anywhere close to where I am right now.
So, man, congratulations to you, all your sponsors, all the people that help you out, man. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Charlotte. Hopefully you can get it done again, man.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys.
Kyle Peddle, driver of the number 54 machine, coming home P1 tonight at the virtual Darlington Raceway, Terry.
We'll kick it up to Daniel Falkingham, who's going to stand by with P3's Jackson Crowder.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to give a shout out quickly to Dallas Taska, who came home P2. We weren't able to get a hold of him, so all of us want to congratulate Dallas on his P2 finish. Down to P3, Jackson Crowder, you got a copy.
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome on into the booth. Went from a win to Dover and to P3 here tonight at Darlington. Just talk about the race.
Yeah, to fire off that first run, I thought I was going to be better than I was. Ended up just being a little bit loose. Kind of think some of it was the way I was driving, the way I was saving. I kind of self-inflicted there. But anyways, made some adjustments after that first run, and I think I was a lot closer to Kyle. There with about 20 to go, I think I definitely had some better restart adjustments. I don't know if you would call it that or not, but I think if we go green there, me and him would have a good battle. Kind of unfortunate that I ended up third after me and him were that far gone for 1-2. But I mean, it's cool. We run 1-2 the past 2 weeks, getting a lot of respect for him. Haven't been around him much, but it's good to race around him.
Yeah, seeing you two been going at it the last few weeks, and another solid finish tonight. Now, it seemed like tonight's race was different than any other race that we've had so far on the round 1 schedule. It seemed like most races that we've gone to, it's been probably like a standard one-stop strategy if the races go green. Tonight was a little bit different, with maybe Darlington, just the tires wearing out a lot more with how abrasive it is. What was your thoughts on the strategy coming into tonight? Did you think the 2-stop would have been faster, or were there times maybe the 1-stop? Give us your take on the strategy kind of thing tonight.
I mean, I'll be honest, I knew the 1-stop was an option. I never really thought about it there. I never really considered it. I just never see that strategy really work. Normally there's a caution the first couple laps that kind of, made sort of where that doesn't work anymore. Everybody's 1-stop, it's not really saving. But I mean, it's Darlington. These tires wear out, so I mean, they're gonna have to go so slow to save a 67 laps if they needed to, and then with us just being on new tires so much more. And then I mean, for that last caution came out, there was like one car within about 10 seconds of me and Kyle. So I mean, I kind of think how good we were there. Whatever strategy we chose might have worked out, but I mean that one-stop strategy definitely was going to be extremely risky, no matter who you were. Just having to save that much gas and then be on old tires for that long. I mean, it's just a lot of time to give up.
Yeah, for sure. And after tonight, one race left in round one. I think you're looking pretty good on points heading to Charlotte. Thoughts on Charlotte here in 2 weeks? Maybe going out there having fun before round two.
Fun is definitely what we're going to say. I was pretty good there on the stripped up surface, the new surface. But the update with the worn out surface, I'm quite terrible on, to be honest with you. So, no stress, I guess. Doesn't really matter where we end up, but obviously like to win. That's what we come here for. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats on the P3 tonight, and give out shout out to Tara like to, and shout out that little throwback you've been running tonight as well.
Yeah. Had a throwback scheme on Kevin King scheme, I believe from 2012. Kind of mentioned it to him as a joke about 2 days ago, and he was like, "Well, there's this paint scheme that I do really like," and then it kind of got blew off. And then Timmy Holmes last night was like, "Do you want me to try and make that?" And I said, "Yeah," and he ended up spending some time on it, made it for me kind of last second, which I really appreciate Timmy and Kevin, obviously both for Kevin for allowing me to do that, and then Timmy for making that. I really appreciate him for that. It turned out really good. I really like it. Probably gonna run it next week too. So, and then everybody at Ryko makes these setups fast. I butchered Spencer's last name last week, so I'm just gonna say Spencer. You know who you are, and then Brad Wright. Then obviously Ken Byron, he runs everything over there at Ryko. All them guys can help on the setups and make these things as fast.
Well, great run tonight, Jackson. Go enjoy Charlotte in 2 weeks, and yeah, we will see you then.
Thank you.
That's Jackson Crowder rounding out on P3 and Terry. And I think it's time for you to bring us home for some final thoughts.
Well, listen to Dan. I'm telling you, we might swap seats in 2 weeks when we get to Charlotte. You come over here and do the lead stuff, and then I'll do the color. We'll work it out in our contracts on how we work this. But yeah, let's talk about this race, because there was a lot that played. We had strategy. We didn't necessarily know what strategy was going to play out. Was the 40-lap pit cycle going to work? Was the halfway cycle going to work? In the end, it didn't matter when it came to Kyle Peddle. He was the fastest driver. But Jason, I'll come to you first. Give me one takeaway from this race, minus the people who've locked in, that really stood out here.
Yeah, man. I mean, this was a very, very strategic race, you know, and obviously that late race yellow right there really threw everything out the window. I mean, if I had to look at somebody who came back, I mean, look at Octavio Rondoletto. Unfortunately, his strategy didn't play out, but he still came back for a top 15. Coming home in 12th, I think Octavio should look at this as like, hey, man, this wasn't as bad of a night as it could have been. Because Octavio, for all we know, heck, he could have finished in outside the top 20. So it's good to see Octavio be able to come back and rally for that 12th place finish. I think that he deserves a little bit of a pat on the back, despite his strategy not working out, and him more than likely, from what we see up here in the booth, running out of fuel there at the end of his run.
Well, and Daniel, from a different perspective, Darlington's in the rearview mirror. 2 weeks is going to go by before we see everybody again on May 25th. We're going to Charlotte, the back home, the backyard of NASCAR, as they would say. There's a lot of people who's locked in, and there's a lot of people who's not, that's sitting here on the edge of the 70th position, mindset-wise, because last season you didn't really have this problem. If you're down there on the cut line, how hard do you need to charge at Charlotte to get up and really put a staple on this eNASCAR qualifying series round one?
I'll tell you what, you definitely, even though you might have a slightly good points cushion, you can't go in there breathing easy, because I was in this spot last year too, where I was so far outside the cut line, even a few races in round one last year, because I had so much bad luck, but I was able to get myself over that cut line before the last race. But I was breathing a little easy, but I obviously wasn't taking full confidence that I was going to the next round, because I still had to make sure I ran well to get myself into round two, which thankfully I did. So if you're near that cut line, just try not to think about it too much, because you know what you need to do. You've been doing this for 7 weeks or however many races we've been doing this deal so far. Just go on, do what you've been doing the whole season, stay out of trouble, get a solid finish, get the points, and if you can do that, you're on to the next round. So definitely looking forward to see what all these guys do when we look at all the points here after tonight, and we'll see. I know like I said, there's a lot of people that have already locked in to round 2, but there's a lot of people that a lot of hefty drivers that have an outside shot to make it to round 2. So Charlotte is going to be a really, really good race in 2 weeks' time.
Well, I tell you what, you can catch that on FTN and LSRTV. Round number 8, May 25th, 2023 at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will turn 100 laps around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You can join myself, Jason Rockefeller, and hopefully we keep Daniel Falkingham for that one, unless he goes over to do the multicast for Marconi Entertainment. But for all of us here for the simulcast on FTN and LSR TV, good night. Have a great weekend. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Charlotte.